Welcome to Six-Sided Studios. I am Gene and this is Dane Simpson, and we're doing part 3 of our series on the Ork Bommer kit, which is the painting and how we painted it. Little discussion of what it was like to paint the Ork Bommer kit. For those of you who haven't seen the other parts, part 1 was about unboxing it, our first impressions of what the model looked like. Part 2 was how we put it together, how we found the instrument. If you haven't seen the other 2, I would recommend going and watching the other 2 and coming back so you're up to par with how this is going.
Alright, so taking a look at my Nike Jet here, obviously I go with the Def Skulls paint scheme, the blue and checkers. I guess my big thought about this plane is that it's a lot of open canvas. There's not a lot of varying textures like we talked about before in any of the plates here. So there's a lot of room to do different stuff. I mean, you could just do a big mural across the entire plane. And for me, that's one of the things that was almost a challenge about this plane, was that there's so much open canvas, there's no textured plates really or anything like that. So in the end, I ended up just basically scraping it up. It looks like there's a lot of scrapes and tears in the paint and whatnot, and there's a lot of soot coming out of the engines and things like that.
Yeah, you dirtied it up a lot. I can see over here and in the front, which is kind of cool. Mm-hmm. What technique did you use for that?
I just used, it's basically a charcoal powder. It's actually from the Flames of War line by Vallejo, I believe it is. Yeah, it works really well for dirtying up stuff like this, making like there's soot coming off of engines, or they've got another really nice rust powder in that kit as well.
Cool. And I see you decided to go with the open canvas, or the open canopy.
Yeah.
Sorry. Is the scarf head, which I know you wanted to use
Yeah,
way back when we looked at the sprue, is that because that scarf doesn't fit into the closed canopy?
That's exactly it. The scarf only fits into the open canopy, so it basically made the choice for me as to which canopy I was going to be putting on the plane. And actually, this is a good point to talk about here. When I was putting it together, because the windshield is very, very crisp and clean looking, so I actually had to really, really dirty that up. I basically took the piece, threw it into the charcoal powder and mixed it around for a little while so that it didn't look so pristine on the plane, because there would be soot all over it.
I guess it makes sense too. If it was in a closed canopy, the scarf wouldn't be blowing in the wind.
Yeah, exactly. It would sit there nicely and everything like that. And I played with the idea of cutting the enclosed canopy so that there was a hole so that the scarf could be flowing out of it, but it would have been way too much work and would have probably broken the canopy as well.
Cool.
Yeah. I guess I should explain the idea for why it's so much dirtier at the front as opposed to with the back, where it's a little bit cleaner. For me, orcs are not gonna be concerned about how close they are to another vehicle when they shoot it. So where an Imperial Guardsman would keep his distance and fire, so when a vehicle explodes in the air, he's not driving through it and getting junk thrown in his face. As opposed to the orcs, who would be right on your tail and shoot you up, and it would explode in your face. You'd be covered in soot and metal would fly off and hit your plane. And the orcs aren't concerned about that kind of thing, so it's really, really dirty and scraped up towards the front.
All right.
So,
all right.
It's yours.
All right. So I was thinking I was going to go with the Evil Sun's color scheme for this jet. In the end, I opted to go with my Bad Moon's color scheme. For one, I'm a lot happier with my Bad Moon's technique, the way it looks. For two, because it's this new fancy cool thing, I decided to make it flash kits, because that's what the flash kits are all about.
Yeah.
Future planes, I may end up doing in an Evil Sun scheme, and I'm almost certain there will be future planes. So when I put it together, I was explaining the textured plates that I added on for just such a reason as Dane was saying, is there isn't a lot of texture there. So I added some textured plates, and the metal that I did, I used sort of this dirty metal technique that I use a lot, especially with orks, where I actually take the bolt gun and I cover it in a combination of Nuln oil and Abaddon black. Still not used to the new color names, so I'm probably going to use some of the old color names here. And a mixture of that, so it's a really, really thick wash. And I lay it over the metal and the bronze. And that makes it really dirty. It actually stains the metal almost black. Then I also cover it in another wash of watered down scorched brown. So it becomes very muddy. And then I lowlighted it with vomit brown in the cracks. Then I went back and re-highlighted it with the lead belcher. That's what they call it now, lead belcher.
The new...
previously known as bolt gun metal. Now the yellow itself, basically this is all stolen from the Heavy Metal Masterclass, White Dwarf, Painting of Bad Moon's War Boss. I took that and I've sort of altered it a little bit to make my own color scheme out of it, which I've done. Now I use a first layer of Eand Dark Sun, or whatever it's called now.
I can't even remember.
Okay, so we'll just go by the old color names. Eand Dark Sun. The second layer is Eand Dark Sun mixed with Sunburst Yellow. And then I go through and I use a wash of Dark Flesh around all the screws, all the bolts, and in all the cracks. Then another layer, this time of the mix again, but with white added. The final sort of stark highlight, or the clashing highlight here, was even more white added to just Sunburst Yellow. And that's how it was highlighted. I did a little bit of checks over here. Again, because I added these plates, I didn't feel like I wanted to do a lot of detail. I could have done those sort of black flames that flash gates have, or add some Bad Moons have, and add some of the Bad Moon symbols. I opted not to do that for this one. I might do it in future planes. The only thing that I wanted to sort of point out is I have this paint chipping technique that I use, and the reason I bring this up is because I actually get a lot of compliments on it. Again, completely stolen from Heavy Metal Masterclass, which is a great way to learn techniques. Always study new painting techniques. To do these paint chips, you start with whatever your starkest highlight is, and you just add a patch of it. Inside that, leaving a little bit of color on the edges, you do Dark Flesh. Inside that, a little bit of bolt gun, and if you want it to be a very crisp-looking chip or something new, then a little bit of mithril silver in there as a center highlight. And that gives you sort of these really nice-looking paint chips that look like they have some depth to it, where it looks, it gives that 3D image. I also used a fair bit of bronze here. I think I just used stock bronze this time and covered it in black wash. So that thick black wash that I was talking about before. I still haven't done the pilot or the canopy, but basically this is done, and I'm pretty happy with how it came out. It's an easy vehicle to paint. There isn't too much detail, which can be good and bad. If you're someone who likes to paint the detail rather than make up the detail, then you might find it a little boring. If you're someone who likes to make up the detail, like to do your own graphics and that sort of thing, then you'll probably love it, because it is a bit of an open canvas.
Yeah, definitely.
That's it. Underside, basically the same thing with the wheels.
Yeah, and another thing to look at is the difference between the metals that we've done, where yours are very bronzy, and the darker metals, mine are using the more silver metals.
Yeah, and they both look good. As you can see, it's a little shinier up here and here. That does give it a nice stark contrast because you use the darker blue. I use the dark metal because it contrasts with the bright yellow that I'm doing. So that's one thing to think about when you're choosing sort of what techniques you're going to use for things like metals. You don't want bright and shiny combined with bright and shiny. I don't use a lot of bright colors except for white because my color scheme is bright yellow, whereas Dane uses a little bit of bronze of pure and a little shinier metal that contrasts with the darker blue that he's working with.
Yeah, well, that's one thing that I thought about when I was painting this. I got finished painting, and I had all the scrapes and stuff like that on the fronts of the wings and everything like that. But the blue was still really bright at that point because I was using a mix of Regal Blue and Enchanted, old names. And then for me, it was way too shiny for a vehicle that I think should be in a combat zone. So that's when I started working with the weathering effects a little bit there.
One of the things that I did, and I think it adds a lot to the model, is each and every one of these rivets, and there are a lot of rivets, I went through and actually touched lead belcher on each and every rivet to sort of bring out that recently bolted together kind of look.
Yeah, that's one thing that it's definitely time consuming, but is well worth the effort. Yeah, you're just going to get so much more out of a model when you do that.
Absolutely. In the end, I guess our final thoughts on the Ork Bomber kit.
I think I might have mentioned this before, but I wish I could take 3s of them as squadrons. You know, then I would be able to take 9, and then I could really, really field more of them and just buy as many as possible.
I like the kit. I enjoy putting it together. I like all the options. I love the 500 extra bits I have still at home that I didn't use from the kit. It's fun to put together. It's a nice change. It's nice to see new rules come out for Ultra Codexes in between releases. So all in all, I'm very pleased with it. And of course, 6th edition, right around the corner. And flyers are apparently in and are great.
Looking forward to the rumors.
Yeah, looking forward to confirming the rumors that we've heard. So hopefully these will just
really get to shine, and we'll really get to put a lot of them on the table, hopefully.
Yes, it will rock and roll come 6th.
Yeah, and gearing up for October again.
Yes,
hopefully.
October.
I figured we should probably start talking about that.
All right.
Because we'll do something sweet for that.
Yes, we will. All right, well, this has been Gene and Dane Simpson from Six Sided Studios. Thanks for tuning in.
Oh, that's
Oh, that's so good.